First is, be able to easily articulate what's compelling about you. Tell me what is different about you as a chef than every other chef that's applying for this job. You need to be able to say that, these are the things that I'm best known for. This is what my team would say about me. This is what my boss would say about me. This is what anybody that works under me would say. And, why I'm in this industry is this, and this. And I don't want to hear what you cook well. We just assume you can cook because we're in the leadership business. Whatever we're hiring for, chefs, pros, superintendents, GMs, CFOs, we're in the leadership. What sets you apart as a leader? I am assuming if you're a CFO, you can count and add and subtract and do all the finance stuff you can. But what separates you as a finance leader? And what, as a culinary leader, what sets you apart? So, being able to tell a compelling story is really important to me about what separates you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to this episode of the Private Club Radio Show podcast, the industry source for news, trends, updates, and conversations all in the world of private golf and country clubs. Whether you're a consummate professional or brand new to the industry, trying to get a peek behind the curtain, learn what we're about here, welcome. We are glad you are all here. I'm excited for this episode because I talk with one of my favorite people to talk with in the club space, Tom Wallace. What a guy. If you don't know Tom Wallace, you have to. Just such a consummate professional. Just someone who's worked his way up, did the work, and is now in a position where he helps other people get jobs and positions. Just a wonderful, wonderful person. When I think of personal branding, one of the people who I think about the most is Tom Wallace. So I was like, if I'm going to have anybody on, it's going to be Tom, because not only his personal brand is good, but he helps represent and put people in positions. So, if there's anybody who knows what it takes, what a good personal brand looks like and what it means for, and what is a personal brand, it is Tom Wallace. So we just talk about all the different levels and how, in 2024, in today's day and age, what it kind of means to have a brand, a personal brand, and what other clubs and what people are looking for when it comes to a personal brand and club professionals. So I'm super excited to bring Tom on for this episode. Before we get to the episode real quick, a quick little note from some of our show partners here on the channel. We have our friends, Member Vetting, Paul Dank. If you have not evaluated or thought about or thinking about changing how you vet your members, how your new members are coming in, are they who they say they are, head over to membervetting.com. Paul Dank and the gang over there have created an innovative, confidential, and comprehensive applicant information gathering process that provides an unrivaled depth of information. And it's really, it comes down to character based. It's really figuring out, are these people the right character fit for your club? So if you're interested in learning more, head on over to membervetting.com, set up a call with Paul Dank. Also check out our other episodes of Member Vetting here on Private Club Radio. We have our friends Golf Life Navigators, and they have a really amazing platform. Zillow meets eHarmony for golf enthusiasts, and they help them navigate the overwhelming number of club options and assist them in finding their dream clubs. And how that works is, for clubs, you are on their platform and they present you with members who are the best fit for your club. This is the only resource available for golf professionals to discover, experience, and ultimately secure and find their ideal club and membership. So if you would like to learn more about how your club can be a part of Golf Life Navigator, it's marketing without marketing, advertising without advertising. It is unreal. Head on over to golflifenavigators.com, set up a call with Jason and the team. Guarantee it's going to be awesome. We have our friends, Concert Golf Partners, boutique owner-operators of private golf and country clubs nationwide. If you were a club is looking for some recapitalization, head on over to Private Club Radio. Head on over to concertgolfpartners.com, set up a call with Peter Nanula, see if you guys are a good fit. Last but not least, myself, if you or your club is looking for one of the most fun member event nights, hands down, I'm your guy. It's the Denny Corby experience. It's magic, mind reading, and comedy. It can be just for the adults or fun for an entire family evening night out. It's an entire night. It's a whole immersive experience. We laugh, we cry, we have such a good time. There's so much crowd work, banter, interaction. If you want to learn more, head over to dennycorby.com. Check it all out there. See some of my TV appearances and other cool stuff we have. Worked with hundreds of clubs all over the country, so I know you're in good hands. dennycorby.com. That's that. Let's get to this episode. Private Club Radio listeners, let's welcome Tom Wallace.
Just I think this is an interesting topic because everybody's talking about rebranding and branding
Really?
yourself. Yeah. It's not just like I would say that younger professionals are just more in tune with, like, I can't imagine myself as a young manager going into my GM and being like, I need to focus on my brand a little bit, and they'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I think it's funny. I think when I think brand, I immediately think of like Nike, Apple, like the brands that I guess we grew up to, but it is funny how much more, more focused young professionals are and making sure they're putting them. But there's also a lot more vehicles. Like, we didn't have LinkedIn. We didn't have those places where your brand, somebody could go learn about you as a person without talking to you. We had a resume, that would be about it. But now you have LinkedIn and Instagram and Twitter.
You did have a MySpace top 8, and your top 8 can really tell a lot.
Yeah, I never got into that. I was talking to someone about I was talking to a person who was telling me about how they went on and did their MySpace top 8, and then their mom found out that through their older sister that they were on, and she had to change it and move. And I was like, that's crazy. I said, I was like, that was not before my time, but it was one of those things that I was already down my career path. So I was like, that sounds very social to me.
And that's why I wanted to talk, because you deal with so many youths, so many older people, younger people, and you're in feet on the ground in the hiring space. Like, you're in that world in so many capacities, and not just even in the club space, but even outside of it. What was the show you were just at, the restaurant show? So it's still like hospitality. Like, so like, you're even dipping outside and getting your legs into other industries and other kind of verticals as well.
Yeah. We just like to see we like to think we're in the hospitality industry. So I like to see what else is, out there. And the club space is, it's the last of the hospitality spaces in my mind that really kind of is balancing between tradition and relevance. You can't be too modern, because clubs are, and again, a lot of clubs struggle with what's a tradition and what's just a bad habit that they've done repeatedly. And I think, but you don't want to be so modern and nouveau that you don't, you're not the Soho House, you're so-and-so country club. So you've got to balance that. But yeah, we like to go out and just see what other people are doing. The restaurant business is so far advanced on, how they, everything's moving to automation. So they're for a lot of restaurants are trying to find a way to have less interaction and just get the food to you. And then, the white tablecloth folks are certainly still focused on, how do we engage with the customer? But a lot of them are, I'd say, from just under white tablecloth down, they're like, how do we have less interaction and get the food out faster with less people? And I understand that, because there's going to be, in my opinion, less and less people wanting to get into hospitality, at least for the next decade, just because I think the younger generation, they bring so much to the table, but I don't know that they're as willing to want to go into an industry that's so selfless and about everybody but yourself.
So how do you combat that?
Well, I think one, I do think there's a lot of people with servant hearts out there. I just think you've got to go out. It's interesting. Jeff Morgan had a post today about, why you should be thinking about the club business. And I think we're micro focused on the club business, but hospitality needs to focus everybody. And then we want to take our share of the best and brightest from there. But I think we've got to be more active in high schools. I think we've got to really go out and talk about hospitality. I don't want to treat it like a trade, because it is, to me, there's executive level skills that you need, certainly to be a GM, COO. But I think you've got to just teach them about the fun and the things that they'd be able to experience on their way up the ladder. I think we're doing a better job of that. We're certainly got a big boost during COVID. COVID was certainly a horrible thing, but the club business, really, everybody started recognizing, boy, they take way better care of their employees than the Ritz-Carlton or Four Seasons. All those places did the best they could, but they're for profits. They have big ownership groups that are expecting, and when you have to cut because there isn't any revenue, the cuts are labor. And a lot of people that, if I had $1 for everybody that said, I moved my family 5 times for this company and now I'm furloughed. They're like, so I'm done. I'm jumping into the club space because at least I can have a little more control of my life. And so I think we are at a good time. We just have to keep highlighting it. Don't rest on our laurels. I think sometimes we tend to think, okay, we look good now. We don't have to pay attention to that for a while. I think we've got to be at the high schools. We got to be at the colleges, telling people why clubs are the best place to be in hospitality. And I do believe that. I don't know that there's all those big box hospitality. They do a great job of helping you develop into their hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
I think clubs, they grow you as a leader, and then you could go wherever you want. I think if you learn the Ritz way, you'd be great within the Ritz, but you might fall short on some things if you move to the Four Seasons or the Montage. If you're a great leader in a club and you've worked for a great GM that's a mentor, they're going to get you ready. You can pretty much plug and play anywhere you go. You're going to know the basics, the blocking and tackling. And I think those skill sets are more transferable because clubs are so similar.
So how do you see clubs getting into the schools? Any unique ways or any ways you see clubs that are doing this actively and doing it well?
Oh, I think there are a lot of, again, this is where the young people in our industry are doing great things. AGMs, food and beverage managers, sous chefs, they're going into the high schools. They're going to job fairs. They're telling people, they're putting on their dress whites. They're putting on a great looking suit, these men and women are going in and saying, you should come work for us. And if you work for me, and that's another thing our industry can do very cleanly is say, you come work for me for 3 years. I'm gonna make sure when you're out of college, I'm gonna leverage every member, every person in my network to help you get the job you want. Even if you don't want to be in service the rest of your life, give me 3, 4, 6, 7 years if it's high school and college, and you're going to meet a bunch of people. You're going to get paid well. You're going to have fun. You're going to be around people your own age. You can sell it if you. I think you need somebody that's been there, done that, and had some success. I think the people who could story tell the best are the people that have lived it. Again, the one thing people always say, why do you love the club business? I love it because anybody from anywhere with any educational background, low to high, can have great success if they're hardworking. And they love people. They love taking care of people. If they're a good teammate, all those, there's a lot of things you have to be, but if you have all those boxes, you can do great. You don't have to have a PhD, an MBA. Does it help? Of course, but it doesn't also hurt just to be a hardworking young person with a great smile, great attitude, and that's obsessed with being successful. I take someone who's obsessed with succeeding over an MBA. That doesn't mean I don't value education. It means I think someone that's obsessed with succeeding will just continue to, one will work hard and push through some of the things that kind of come at you in the club business or any hospitality business.
Is that what you see as well from that position of, finding other people positions? Is that, do you see that having an MBA or something like that doesn't necessarily put somebody at a better advantage with the type of positions?
The number one thing is if you're a certified club manager, if you have your CCM, that's attractive. And that's, is it as attractive as an MBA? I'd say it's a little more attractive because one thing club members know is that clubs are different than hotels, than restaurants. Our worst customers come back day after day. In a restaurant, if someone comes in and they're really unhappy, they're probably never coming back. So you have to have a different set of skills when you're dealing with the same person. What I used to have servers tell, when I was in the industry, they would say, this guy complains every day about how bad this place is, but he comes back every day. I've never seen anything like it. And they were like in high school. So they were like, what's the deal? I'm like, no, that's just some people just, it doesn't matter their lot in life, how much money they have, how much success. Some people just aren't happy and they want to share that unhappiness with everyone. But the good thing about clubs is, I said, the majority of the people are happy. And I always used to tell the staff, I say this to boards today, run the club for the happy people, focus your energies. And that wasn't something I did when I was young. I always thought I could flip anybody, I can make that. He or she's always complaining, but tonight they're going to have a perfect dinner service. I'm waiting on them. It's going to be perfect. And then it didn't go perfect. And I would beat myself up. And it took me years. My last couple of years of managing at Mediterra, I had a president that was like, Tom, you're awesome at a lot of things, but one thing you're not good at, because you're a people pleaser, is realizing that you're not going to win over everybody. And he said, so just run the club for the happy people, he told me. He said, and if you do that, which is the majority, you're going to win a lot of hearts and minds. I said, and he said, if you don't, you're going to exhaust yourself on that 10% that are never happy. And I was like, that's a really good point. And he said, yeah. And he was right, because that was my first year at Medi. My second year, we moved at a lot faster speed, because I've stopped putting all my energy into the 10% and I put it into the happy people. And you know how that goes. It's like a great joke or a great trick. It starts, builds momentum. And,
snowballs. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, I learned that the last 3 years of managing clubs. Somebody finally told me. But I think it takes a brave leader. It takes someone that's led. He was a leader at McDonald's fast food, one of their C-suite executives. And I think he realized, he probably learned that years ago, and then he had to watch me kind of fumble it around with it myself, and then he helped me. But that's what's great about the club business. You get to, the people that you interact with on a daily basis are for the most part, the smartest and or the most successful, or both, people in the region, and they love the place, and they typically in turn love you because you take good care of them, and they teach you things and are there to lean on, which I like.
And, as people are younger and growing up, talent recognizes talent. So if someone from the club, they usually have their own business or higher up at a company, that if they see good talent or potential as well, they're also always looking for good people too. So not that it's like, a thing, but just, there's always, if there's a place to work and be seen, I would say that's the place to work and be seen and show off a little bit.
Listen, I used to get mad when I was a younger manager when a member would hire a great employee away, but but it would be, I'd say, well, listen, that this is where they wanted to go. They wanted to be manage a hedge fund or be in banking or be in, whatever it was, not in hospitality. So I was happy, but yeah, you're right. Talent recognizes talent, and there's not a better place to be out there to be recognized than a club, for sure.
Would you say, are there like 3 things that people need to do when it comes to their personal branding? Whether they're, already doing it, great, but if they're not, is there 3 things people need to do, or at least need to be doing if they are not already?
Yeah, well, first is, be able to easily articulate what's compelling about you. Tell me, it's amazing how many what I do now for the last 11 years, tell me what is different about you as a chef than every other chef that's applying for this job. And it's amazing how few of them can tell you,
Really?
Yeah, well, and I'm like, listen, we're just having a phone conversation, and you can tell they're stammering. And I'm like, boy, you need to be able to say that, these are the things that I'm best known for. This is what my team would say about me. This is what my boss would say about me. This is what anybody that works under me would say. And, why I'm in this industry is this, and this. And I don't want to hear what you cook well. We just assume you can cook, and some people go into that, like, they almost don't understand how to brand themselves. They're like, well, I'm really good at Italian, but I can do French. And it's like, no. because we're in the leadership business. Whatever we're hiring for, chefs, pros, superintendents, GMs, CFOs, we're in the leadership. What sets you apart as a leader? I am assuming you could, if you're a CFO, you can count and add and subtract and do all the finance stuff you can. But what separates you as a finance leader? And what, as a culinary leader, what sets you apart? So, being able to tell a compelling story is really important to me about what separates you. I think obviously you have to have executive presence, even at the starting out of the starting blocks. You still have to have a few of the pieces that I think make up, composure. Are you succinct? Are you consistent as a leader, as a human being? Do I get this version of Tom on Thursday, this version of Tom on Saturday because he was out all night? What are you confident? There's a delicate balance between cocky and confident. But, do you have those things? Can you tell a great story about yourself? Do you have executive presence or the beginnings of executive presence? If you're not going to have the composure you need to get up in front of 1,000 members and ask them for an assessment of $10,000 if you're just getting into the industry. But could you stand up in front of your classmates and tell them why you're going to go work at Acme Country Club and articulate what would be great about that? How do you get you can be an introvert but still be a great extrovert. It just, as we know, as well, you just have to take extra energy to make that happen. So I think the three things is telling the compelling story, having that executive presence either in full bloom or at least it's been planted and there's a couple of small flowers starting to come out. And last but not least, I just think you've got to know what's important to you. What do you stand for? What are the things, that you just won't bend on? If you, does everything have to, for me, I always used to say, everything has to be past my stink test. Is it equitable? Is it ethical?
Stink test?
The stink test. You never heard that?
Like STINK?
Yeah, like stink. Yeah, I don't know. I think that might be a culinary term. Nope, that doesn't. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to make sure I heard the word stink, and I was like, okay, just wanted to make sure I heard stink.
But what is it? I always used to say, here's how I make decisions. Is it effective? Is it efficient? Is it equitable? And is it ethical? And I think you need to be able to tell someone, how do you make decisions as a leader, even if it's just the floor leader of a dining room or, an assistant food and beverage manager, assistant superintendent? What are the things that I need to know about you that separates you from the pack? I think if a young person has that executive presence and can articulate to me what it is, how they kind of think about decisions, I'd be like, wow, that's really, really impressive. And then I always like to ask them, what are you obsessed about? Are you someone that is interested or are you obsessed? And what I want to hear, Tom Wallace, when I was a manager, I wanted to hear I'm obsessed with success. I'm competitive. I love competitive people. And some people didn't meld with me as a leader because I was always like, I had to make up stuff like Michael Jordan. I work like this with Jim Butler now but when I was at Mediterra, Jim Butler is at Club Benchmark. But when I was at Mediterra, he was at Gray Oaks, and I used to walk around. And literally, my first year there, our mantra amongst the staff was, "We're going to destroy Gray Oaks." And I didn't mean that in the physical sense. I just said they're the big, successful, high end. Everybody in town talked about Gray Oaks, and I said that's our target. And it was funny. Our HR director used to say, "Why do you need a target?" I was like, I don't know. I need a North Star so we can focus and go after it. And so I like competitive. I like servant hearted. I like, if you're going to get in this industry, you've got to thrive on feedback. That's a big differentiator. I think you could be successful in many, many industries, but if you're in hospitality, if you can't take feedback as gasoline, you're in big trouble.
And then would you say there's three things that people should stop doing? Three things you see going on, people need to stop, cut it out?
Slow down with social media. I think social media is great. I think it's I think you've got to realize if I had $1 for everybody this year, I had to call and say, hey, we got your social media backgrounding back, and there's 15 things. Now, we don't set up the criteria for what it gets flagged for, but there's so many things like, oh, that was college. I'm like, well,
take it down.
You take it down. And they're like, oh, I haven't been on that in 10 years. Well, then sign off and close it so that everybody else in the world can't see what you did in college. And it's always, not always, but it's mostly minor stuff. So it's not the end of the world, but I'm just like, what's going on? Like, why am I, it amazes me that people aren't smarter about their social media and what they're putting out there. And I think it's a sign of the times. You know, the politics of our country right now, everybody thinks they have an opinion, and the louder they say their opinion, the better off they are. And I don't agree with that on either side of that fence, but you don't need to get on and talk about politics and religion and your feelings and think that that's not going to be an influencer when we download all that stuff and share it with a future boss of yours. They're going to look at that.
What about thoughts and things if it's on a private, if your profile is private and locked down?
Yeah, I think if it's locked down, just know that there's so many services out there that now can find it. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn and those things, but I'm boring and I work a lot. That's what I do. And then I love my family. That's it. Those are my kind of two things, yeah. my team and my family. But I think my feeling, it seems like even if it's private, people can find it. But I don't. That's a good question. I probably need to dig in on that a little bit with our backgrounders.
Well, no, I was just seeing how that, from your point of view, from your perspective, is like, oh, okay, like if it's private, having your opinions is like one. It was more. I was just trying to keep the conversation rolling at that point.
Yeah, no.
Just because I mean that's a whole different topic going into like private ghost accounts and all that crazy stuff. I'm just, saying from like a 30,000 foot like view and all. So actually at that token, what is that line? Like, so I think different people obviously have different lines, and to some people, what might be crazy to put something out is not that crazy. Where do you see that line of going, Yeah,
well, I go back to kind of the way I was raised. You don't talk about religion, politics at the dinner table, kind of a thing. I think you can have opinions on a lot of things. I'm not going to tell folks they can't have opinions, but
right.
I just want them to know if the person that is seeing your materials feels opposite of that, you've just cut your opportunities by 50%. The more opinions you put out to the public to digest without any explanation, it's just a picture or a quote that doesn't have enough texture or context. I personally would say, why risk it, and just let people get to know you, and then you can share your beliefs I have completely different feelings about lots of important things in this world with dear friends, but we don't talk about it by posting against each other. We talk about it one-on-one so we can understand each other's perspective. I still say, I think you're dead wrong, but okay, but I still love and respect you because I think that's how the world should work. But I think, why would you eliminate 50% of the people that might want to hire you just because you have a feeling about something? I don't know. I don't know if I haven't really given it a lot of thought. I just eliminate anything that could hurt you from getting your foot in the door. At the end of the day, if you're a great leader and you work your butt off and you have a strong opinion about something that the GM doesn't share that opinion, they don't care. But if it's between two great candidates and one person is just exposing and everything on social media and the other person isn't on it, my guess is people are going to go with someone that's not going to have that to deal with, I guess. Yeah.
What else? What's another thing besides social media?
Well, I think you need to be. I think young people need to communicate more clearly. I think one of the things, I'm a big fan of being concise, and I think being too verbose. So watch your social media. Number two, be concise. Don't be verbose.
This is a 45-minute episode, Tom. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So go talk, Tom. No, but I think it's important to realize that bullet points, the higher up you're going and communicating bullet points and being precise and realizing that most leaders want honesty, they want conciseness, and they want logic. Lay things out briefly and concisely, and so that they can make good decisions in a quick manner. Don't be too verbose. And sometimes I think people think putting charts and words and you email with me, you know how I email, and everybody makes fun of me. It's like, yes, no, okay, 3:00. And it's not to be rude, but I work with managers that are like, I need the Reader's Digest version. I'm like, what's that? And, like, not familiar with Reader's Digest, but I do remember my grandparents had it, but Dick Copland has a great saying. He says, I don't need War and Peace. I need Reader's Digest. And I think that was probably in his era, that meant faster, more concise. In our era, how concise can concise be? We have eliminated everything down to how many characters. So I do think people tend to be too verbose because I think they're making up for the fact that they're in their social lives, they're very concise and quick. So they feel like going over the top and giving all the context and all the background. Your leaders, as you work up the chain, they want you to be concise. They want you to be logical and not be too verbose, which is funny because in their social lives, they're completely the opposite. They're very concise, but I think they feel the need to make it up for someone like me who's a little older generation. I'm like, I actually want just the facts, please. And I want them in bullet points. And, people that send me, that send me long emails and anticipate that I'm going to read through them. I'm like, please pick up. I just literally will email them back. Please call me, because it's like, I don't know. I mean, I just think there's just something I think people tend to hide behind lengthy emails sometimes too. It's like, pick up the phone. Let's have some interaction. We can get through all of this. And it amazes me. I'm like, you'll write a 25-minute email rather than pick up the phone, and you could probably get that answer within 2 or 3 minutes. So find the way to be concise. Find the way to check as many things off your list as you can. And that leads to my third one, which is most leaders, especially in hospitality, would rather have you do 10 things a day at a B+ level than one thing at an A. Don't be a perfectionist. There's a level. We don't want C efforts, but we'd rather have multiple things done at a B level in a day than one A that you want to turn in and get applause for. Well, the more things you can get done quickly at a high level, maybe not at the best level, but a very high level, the greater the momentum of your department, of your company, of your club is going to be. Getting one thing done really, really well in the club industry, and it's so fluid. So you could kill yourself for a week to do one thing, and then the next week we're like, guess what? We're pulling the plug on that. We're going a different direction. So learn to
tell me about it.
Yeah. Learn to do well. Learn to do well and do it at a high and fast pace. I think those are so. Going back to those three things, I think be smarter about your social media. Be more concise, and then at the end of the day, be able to work fast and be proud of your B's, because it's okay to get, I'd be more proud of someone leaving the day with 6 B projects done than 1 A.
Amen.
Yeah. I don't know that everyone agrees with that. I'm sure at some facilities it's got to be an A, but, hospitality is not a business that lends itself to perfection. The best operators in the industry know there's going to be mistakes. Ritz-Carlton, they're going to screw something up every day, but guess what they're going to do? They're going to recover in a really powerful way. And that's what separates them as Four Seasons, the same thing. You're going to have hiccups on the golf course. You're going to have hiccups in the kitchen. How do you recover? How do you close the loop on that feedback so that the customer/member knows, here's what happened. Here's what we're doing to make sure it doesn't happen again. And once again, I know I already said this, we're really sorry. And guess what? If you do that consistently, you're going to have a great hospitality organization, or at least for most, maybe not the 10% that we talked about earlier that are never happy.
That was good. Hope you all enjoyed that episode. I know I did. If you have not done so already, 5-star rating with a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, a thumbs up and some comments over on YouTube means the absolute world. Engaging with us on social media is very important as well. If you can do that, that's all we ask. And we ask that you share the content with people who you think would enjoy it. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, privateclubradio.com. That's this episode. Until next time, I'm your host, Denny Corby. Catch y'all on the flippity flip.